Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's streaming the entire new season Friday at 3 a.m. It's Arturo Zurita!
I still don't understand why they do the 3 a.m. showings, but then I actually thought about this, so it's very interesting that this is your introduction this time. Remember when we used to see movies at midnight?
Of course.
And then it was like, nah, it's 10. Now you can see it at 6, sometimes even 4 on that Thursday. I'm waiting for streaming to finally catch up on that. 3 a.m., I saw some people waiting for Marriage Story at 3 in the morning. I was like, at that point, you're just going to be too upset. Yeah. They got to move it to 12.
I'm not sure I'm ready to watch Marriage Story at 3 a.m.
Right, but I can't wait till they move it up to like the 6 p.m. Netflix premieres that we could just stay at home to watch. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
We've also got the intern slash producer slash man without a cable plan. It's Fernando. Say what up, Fernando.
What's up, guys? Also happy to be here. Kind of sick, so apologies if my voice is kind of stuffy.
I already caught it.
But I will do my best.
He's braving an illness to be with y'all tonight.
Is it freezing in Florida? Is that what it is?
Yes, this weather change isn't doing good for me. But
he went to Virginia once for Thanksgiving, and he was like, "Oh my goodness."
So on this week's show, it's not the usual lineup. We are doing our top 10 TV. Almost said movie.
TV.
Top 10 TV of 2019. The 10 shows that stood out to us, the seasons of television that were above and beyond everything else. And this was a really great year for TV. We already went over some of our favorites at the midpoint with Amanda the Jedi, and I don't know about you, Art, but like a lot of those titles are struggling to make it to this list for me.
Half and half.
So yeah, there's been a lot of quality TV to choose from. Of course, we're gonna talk about some honorable mentions at the get-go, and as I guess should be mentioned, I think with movie countdown lists, you assume that they haven't seen everything. With TV, I feel like that's even more. You have to give us some leeway just because there's so much TV out there, particularly right now with all these streaming services, and 10 hours of TV are sometimes too much for us to catch up on. Yeah. So there are some shows that I know we haven't all caught up on, or we haven't all watched. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to mention that you were hoping to get the chance to see but didn't.
Yes, the new CBS original series. No. Can you imagine having to catch up on every CBS 16 to 22 episode series? NBC,
I don't know if I caught up a single 22 episode show.
I've always wondered, how do people do it who cover TV? There's no way. You got to stick to the basics, the stuff you know, or you got to stick to Netflix. You got to like pertain to a channel. It's insane, but I think. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking at where the sources for your top movies come from.
Right.
And that's going to be another interesting thing to tally up at the end.
Yeah. Especially with the growth of all these streaming platforms, it's not so sure if calling this the best TV list even feels appropriate anymore, since so many of these are streaming offerings. I know for me, I haven't seen the 4th season of The Good Place yet, one of my favorite comedies, so that's not factoring into my ratings. I haven't finished the 3rd season of Easy. I wanted to see The Righteous Gemstones on HBO. I didn't see Rami or Shrill or a couple of the other Hulu comedies that I was hoping to consider for this, as well as any Apple TV show. I'm curious about some of them. I've heard that Servant is very good. Although it's not finished yet, so I don't know if that's even eligible for your list.
No,
but I haven't seen any of the Apple TV Plus shows, so I'm not including them in my consideration. Fernando, anything that you wish you had gotten a chance to see but didn't?
Oh no, yeah, I feel like my list is definitely the roughest in terms of we're doing 10, and I've seen exactly 10 TV shows this year, which is a lot for me. Which is a lot for me. I'm definitely more of a movie guy. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that I either started this year but didn't get around to finishing, like Barry.
Yeah.
Saw the first episode, really liked it, just didn't continue. And there's just so many good TV shows that I know you guys are going to mention, and I'm going to be like, I need to watch that, and I will watch that. But yeah, there's a lot.
And I will, I promise.
So I apologize. I apologize.
Here's the only one that I would mention, because I feel like you guys are going to I don't want to spoil one and say one that I know for a fact is on one of your guys' lists. But here are the two that I would say I haven't seen, and I do have some honorable mentions. But the two that I didn't get to fully watch, the remaining seasons of Mr. Robot. And I know that the final one,
another one I'm not.
Yeah, it's wrapping up, and I know that that's a big one that might have made this list if I would have caught up on it. The other one being that I don't know if it's going to be on your guys' list, Killing Eve. I didn't get to finish season 1.
On that one either.
Yeah, and then season 2 had a couple of Emmy wins to it. So those would be my two. Everything else, I think I'm pretty much set. There's two other ones, but I'm not going to spoil Zach's picks because these things are top 5 for him. I know for a fact. So.
All right. So we'll start this off with some honorable mentions. I know Art and I probably have a couple. For me, the ones that I want to mention are Chernobyl, When They See Us. Some things that I think we'll get into a little bit later. Just shows you how good of a year it is that both of those did not make my top 10. But some other ones that I really loved were Glow, The Boys, High Maintenance. High Maintenance didn't make my top 10. I Think You Should Leave, which was my favorite of all the new sketch shows that debuted. There are a lot of good ones this year. Big Mouth and Pen 15, two of my favorite comedies out right now. Yeah.
Damn, you rave about Pen 15.
That's really interesting.
Surprised it's not on your list.
Might tackle about it a little bit more later, not in this top 10, but I've got another bonus top 10 later. Art, any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got them broken down into 3 little tiny categories: comedy, drama, and then one action one. I'm going to start with the action one, which is technically kind of a comedy. I did really much enjoy The Boys. Actually, no, I have 2 type of action ones. I really enjoyed The Boys, but the one that I enjoyed better and is sadly still my honorable mention for me is Watchmen. I have not caught it again, though. Zach has caught it again. So all I'm saying is that, because I'm also reading this, I'm reading the comic right now. Again, I haven't rewatched the show as many times to pick out a lot of things that Zach keeps telling me to notice. Words, I'm not even going to say the names of dildos that supposedly give out a huge plot point.
Spoiler.
I'm not even, who's going to know that when they see it? Yeah. Comedies. Goes as follows. Easy season 3. I hate that they wrapped it. Easy is a show and it's got to make the honorable mention. Even though for me it does go in ranking order, season 1, 2, and 3. I got to mention it because I think you can describe it better. What was the whole premise that they were going for with this about meeting up with these characters?
Well, it's kind of just visiting all these different people, having different. For the most part, it's sexual dilemmas, but it's different.
Kinda,
it's mostly like the minor ennui of. Like middle-aged, or maybe not middle-aged, but like settling into your adulthood, and finding these characters at a point in their life where they feel like they need to shake something up. And I think it's just a very sweet, honest show that gives you a really nice glimpse into a bunch of different people's lives and features a lot of great actors on it. So, I think we both think that it was a great vehicle for Joe Swanberg. So it's a show that we'll both miss.
Yeah, I really like that. So that one came to an end. Number 3, I have Ramy, a show that I very much liked. I also very much like his HBO stand-up special that he did. I know there's some controversy around season 2, but we'll see how that plays out. I've heard some stuff, but I really enjoyed the first season of Ramy. I think if you liked something... if you like the show Master of None on Netflix, I think that you will kind of like the perspective here. It's not as, I'd say, artsy as the episodes of Master of None were, but they're funnier on Ramy, I would say. Very blunt. My last 2 for comedy, BoJack Horseman Season 6A. We might talk about that a little bit more later, I think. And High Maintenance Season 3. We've talked about it. We've mentioned it.
It's great TV.
With watching Marriage Story, I went back to look at it. There's that one scene where him and his ex go, this was a good marriage, and they like hug it out. It's a beautiful show about weed that really has nothing to do with weed, but it does.
Yep.
It's about the dealer that connects all of these several stories around New York and how small of a world it is. And you don't have to smoke cannabis or anything to enjoy the show, because it's literally just, again, kind of like Easy, showing you all these different storylines within this big city and how they're all intertwined by having the same dealer. Fantastic show. Zach put me on it. It's fantastic. It's great.
I think we both maybe would say that that's the show we recommend the most highly that didn't make our top 10.
Yeah, we recommend it highly. And then dramas. I got 3. Big Little Lies Season 2.
Nice.
Mindhunter Season 2. Unbelievable.
Wow. Okay.
I'm very curious to see what made your top 10.
Yeah.
If Fincher didn't make your top 10.
Look, he only directed a couple episodes.
If Toni Collette didn't make to your top 10.
Did she not? No, someone else did, though. Someone else did.
All right. Fernando, do you want to start this off with your number 10?
Yeah, I'll start it off. So my number 10, obviously, like I said, I haven't watched that many shows like these guys. You know, these two are machines when it comes to TV. I don't know where they find the time.
We put the episodes underneath our pillow and then just knock out.
You absorb them overnight. But my number 10, I'm going to pick Mandalorian, which is a show I've been really hyped for a long time. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And obviously it's almost done. I think there's 2 or 3 episodes left. It's on Disney Plus. And as a Star Wars fan, I know it's not going to be for everyone. You know, people that don't watch Star Wars, they could still love Baby Yoda, but they won't love everything else that The Mandalorian offers, which I understand. But I think right now it's doing a really good job. I think another thing I really like about it is the way that they're giving different directors a chances. So you got Dave Filoni, who directed a lot of the animated Star Wars stuff, directing his first live action. They have Rick Famuyiwa, who did Dope, directed an episode. Then they have Taika Waititi as in the directed an episode. He's directing the finale. Bryce Dallas Howard directed a really good
which
episode.
Is cool because now that's father and daughter who have both done a Star Wars. Yeah.
And then
a lot of people made a big deal about Deborah Chow, who directed the 3rd episode. And then I forget what movie she signed on to recently, but she got a big movie deal.
Yeah, she was definitely the standout. I'm pretty sure she did episodes of Jessica Jones on Netflix, and she's actually directing the complete Obi-Wan Disney Plus series when that comes out. So her episode.
Wait, is that a miniseries?
Yeah.
And she did episode 3, the one everyone's freaking out about, because I've only seen the first.
Yeah.
And she's gonna direct the entire miniseries.
Yeah.
Which is what we always say is the best way to do a miniseries.
Yeah. So she was the biggest standout. Really happy with her episode, and now happy that she's doing that. So that's my number 10, this Mandalorian.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I suspected that this was going to end up higher on your list, but maybe it is just because we haven't gotten the full package yet.
Yeah,
that's fair. I respect that.
We'll see. Art, what's your number 10?
Has this ever happened to you, Zach? I think you should leave. First time this was pitched to us, Zach messages us on the group chat and says, "Hey guys, I think you should leave. Recommend it." And I was like, never heard of the show. I'm just thinking he just doesn't want to be friends anymore. Turns out it's this comedy series. It's a sketch series on Netflix. Zach, I think you can expand more on Tim Robbins, who's the creator, and he stars in a bunch of sketches.
Yeah, Tim Robinson did a lot of work, I think, as a writer on SNL, and he even said in an interview with Seth Meyers that some of these sketches are sketches that he was rejected at SNL with.
Really?
But it's him and another one of the writers that he worked with often at SNL co-created this show, and it's just these really fun, quick sketches. I think each episode's only 15 minutes long, so it's just a really nice comedy palate cleanser. And I think nobody does the type of comedy where, like, I know I'm wrong, but I refuse to admit I'm wrong than Tim Robinson right now.
The door, the YouTube video, the wiping, all of them. I would
say
my
favorite is the choking sketch.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say what your favorite sketch was. The choking one? I think as of now, easily. It's the one I've quoted the most. The date, where he asks the waiter to tell her that there's a rule to not eat the nachos because he doesn't know how to tell his blind date, yo, leave me some nachos. And then you get the what. So yeah, that would be my pick. Very dry sometimes. It may not be for everybody, but that's the beauty of a sketch show. If you don't like one, hopefully you like the other one. But if not, I'll have my number 9 pick coming up next.
My number 10... I believe was my number 1 when we did this with Amanda at the halfway point. It's Russian Doll, which, it's one of our favorites from this year. It's a really intoxicating show, I want to say. The story of a woman who relives her birthday over and over and over again and has to discover why and discover, what the rules of this world are as things start to crumble around her. It's a really intriguing blend. It's like a light touch of sci-fi. Yeah. It's set in a very realistic Lower East Side of Manhattan world where I think the thing that really propels the show forward is Natasha Lyonne at the center of it, and her interactions with all these different characters that live in New York. I think the show does a great job of giving you a very diverse array of people, and she's just so interesting and fun to watch bounce off of these people in these situations where she knows so much more about what's going on in that moment than they do, because she's lived that day over and over and over again. And to see her anticipate things and catch on to behaviors so she can further herself through her week, it's such a joy. It's one of my favorite shows of the year, and we're very excited to see where it goes in season 2, because they've got a 3-season plan apparently. So
yes,
it's always exciting to hear when the creators have such a direct vision for their show.
A beginning, a middle, and an end. Did you know
Leslie Headland, the writer-director, I believe, on that.
Fantastic. Yeah, she also did Bachelorette, I believe.
And Sleeping with Other People.
Did you know Natasha Lyonne was the voice of the mom on the phone in Honey Boy?
Really?
I think I had heard that, but I forgot that. Yeah,
because
cool.
this year after Rush and Dawn, remember, she ended up she had a big role in Big Mouth, Orange Is the New Black ended, and then everyone freaked out about her tiny role in Ad Astra.
Yeah,
but we'll talk more Rush and Dawn in a bit. Fernando, number 8.
So number 9. Speaking of
9
of people who usually they have a plan and they stick to it. Sometimes that plan doesn't go according to the plan. So my number 9 is going to be controversial, but it's Game of Thrones. And here's the thing. Like I said, I've only seen 10.
Okay. But this is 9.
Yes, it's 9.
He hasn't finished 10.
I'm giving 10 the benefit of the doubt.
They didn't finish his number 9 either.
So Game of Thrones, I feel like I am in the minority, but I completely understand people's stances on it. I feel like the more I've talked to other friends, either catching up and being like, "What do you think of Game of Thrones?" They all kind of say the same thing, where it felt rushed. They like certain things, they hated certain things, but I feel like I'm not one of the people who strongly dislikes it. To be honest, there's a lot of things that I actually like, and it might be because everyone else hates it, so I'm like, I love hearing their reaction to certain things. But I do understand that it did come off rushed, but it did its job for me, so I was pleased with it.
You support the underdog.
I do. I support the underdog.
The decade-winning Game of Thrones. You support the underdog.
Yes.
So 2 things. First, direct all your comments about this towards Fernando.
Fernando, say your Twitter right now. Please leave the comments clean.
I'll take all of them.
Ours. I'm just gonna
and secondly, look, there were high points to the season that I think a lot of people want to overlook now that it's become memeable to talk about how trash it is and look at the Starbucks cup. But a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, when that episode ended, everybody was so happy about that Brienne scene. And, there are moments of that season that I think worked well. It just, unfortunately, I think, as a whole, it just didn't.
Yeah, and when you get to, the filmmaking part of it, completely understand story, narrative, character.
It is epic on a scale we have not seen before and may not see after on TV.
Something Zach has been saying leading up to it throughout all season 8 was what's going to be the next experience like Game of Thrones where we were all watching live that Sunday. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but the experience of watching it and hating it and everything else, it was dope.
Yeah. I'm not putting Game of Thrones in my top 10, but the experience of watching Game of Thrones and talking about it with people might be in my top 10.
For sure. I have.
You're number 9?
A better HBO show, in my opinion.
Thank you.
A Black Lady sketch show. I guess my bottom 2 just had to be comedies, but I really, really, really enjoyed this one. And let me defend it here. Let me explain it right here. One, I don't think it needs defending because these women have been nominated for Emmys. I think it should win an Emmy for this one in particular. It is pretty much a sketch series on HBO, stars all black women and a lot of iconic black actresses that come in, and a lot of the sketches, they don't connect to each other, but some of them are reoccurring. Some of them have reoccurring lore and Easter eggs. So you don't realize that it's technically they have their own series. So the sketch show within itself has its own running, not just gags, but like storylines. Like it has its own episodes, episode 1, 2, and 3, and they have them titled and everything. But some of the best ones would be it's just the way they do the type of humor. Some of it is just cultural, but it's just clever. You'll be seeing a bit, but the bit is really just a joke within another joke, where the entire joke ends up being that it's a commercial for something, and it's just like a drop the mic type of thing, right? So you'll be I'll spoil one. There's this one with this teacher, and she's going through a divorce. So all the kids were like, "What happened, teacher? You used to be so lighthearted and everything." And it's this whole rallying cry about like helping the teacher with the divorce, ends up being like a lottery, like a charter school lottery commercial. The lottery, where everyone is there for, like, it's just like a mic drop type of thing at the end. I highly recommend it. It's my number 9 pick. I think you should leave on Netflix, but if you have HBO, catch A Black Lady Sketch Show.
Yeah, A Black Lady Sketch Show was one of my favorite comedies of this year that I did not get to mention. The thing that you mentioned where it just has this kind of like surprise left hook joke that you have no idea that it's coming. It does some of those better than any show on TV, I think, right now.
I love it.
Yeah. So I think we're at my number 9.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it briefly. I'll go into a little bit more detail. It's BoJack Horseman season 6A, I guess. We're going to get the finale to BoJack in 2020, but these 8 episodes that set it up are still among the best that the show has produced, and I have loved BoJack since it began, and I think it's a uniquely empathetic and inward-looking show in the way that it took this idea of this misbehaving anti-hero, like asshole, but you like him because he's an asshole, right? Character that I think we've seen a lot of on TV, and just really diving into why is he the way he is? Why do people who act selfishly do this?
The history,
the way that it's allowed for room for that type of introspection and deep dive into the depression and addiction and mess that often is BoJack's life. Mm-hmm. It makes it sound like it's such a depressing show, and somehow it is hilarious throughout. I love the deep elements of it, but it's also the wordplay on the show is going to be something I miss intensely. The puns and just
the visual gags,
double entendres that they have. It's such a cleverly written show, and I think a testament to that is that 8th episode of this most recent season features none of the main characters. That it's made up entirely of characters we've never seen before or side characters, and yet you're still completely invested because the chain of events that have unfolded have made it so all these people are very important in their own way. So I don't know. I love BoJack Horseman. I'm going to be sorry to see it go in the new year.
Favorite character from the show?
I really loved Diane because I think she has a unique perspective that we don't get a lot, in that she's this progressive character. She's often fighting for what is like morally and ethically right, and they flip it on her head often, and showing how she fails to live up to her own idea of what good is.
Especially in the last season.
Yeah. I just think it's very, very true and very interesting, and again, one of the more unique elements to the show. How about you?
I don't know why I just blinked on it. And I just had it too. The assistant, Princess Carolyn's assistant, when he called Judah. Easily. He makes me feel so happy when he's on screen, but that's mainly because of the incompetent other assistant, the other PA that she has. Oh, I hate him so much. So, if you haven't seen the show, he's pretty much the assistant to Princess Carolyn, the manager / agent, who helped out BoJack, dated BoJack at one point, but his character is just so fantastic. And it's just that you can see a character disappear for a long time. He comes back and makes a splash. I love that the last season, it's taking place in Chicago, and Chicago it is. I was looking at those houses, I was like, that looks just like mine. It's got the same windows and everything. He's eating a casserole, deep dish pizza. I am going to miss it too. I'm very curious to see how they're going to wrap it all up, because according to the creators, they had way more to do with this show. But I'm looking forward to one-offs in the future, because it's Netflix and it's still a possibility. So,
Fernando, your number 8.
Yeah, so my number 8 is one that you brought up, Zach. It's Russian Doll. This was a show. Cool. Yeah, this was a show that I didn't intend to watch. I sat down and watched it with my roommate, also our friend Andres, and he was like, "Yeah, let's just watch this. It's getting pretty decent hype." And then we sat down, we binged the whole thing, and I was like, "Yo, that was really entertaining."
Right.
I think a lot of it has to do with Natasha Lyonne, how charismatic she is in that role. She's so good. I don't really see anyone else pulling what she did off. With that, it's just everything with her acts, the way she speaks, the way she acts. It's so unique. And
the role is so clearly written for her.
100%, yeah. So I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do in the next seasons. But I also really I don't know the actor's name, but the actor who plays the guy in the episode too, and the way that they interweave the stories, I think is really clever. I think the writing's really good, and for a comedy, which comedies aren't really TV shows that I lean towards more. I lean towards more the dramas. But for a comedy, I think it worked really well. So that's my number 8.
Charlie Barnett is the name of the actor that you were thinking of.
He was really good too.
There you go.
Yeah, he's great on the show. Art, your number 8.
My number 8 comes from, I think it may be, as I'm looking here, kind of depends what you consider another one. My only channel comes from Comedy Central itself. It is the finale of Broad City Season 5. I just want to say right off the bat, on a personal level, this is the show I've rewatched the most, second to my number 1. I love this show. This is my go-to, along with Gumball, but Gumball don't really count. I don't think it counts for this year. It's on Hulu. All of it is on Hulu. It is the reason why Hulu's top 3 streaming services for me, because they have this on there. It's the show that every time I watch it, I look over to Lena and I go, why don't we have the box set in case the apocalypse happens? And I want to make sure that I own it. The running gags in this is so hilarious. All I'll say is that it's a 5-season show about 2 best friends who live in New York. And New York is a character, however you want to say it. It is a fantastic show. It's surreal at times. And the running gags are so good because after seeing the entire show, there's a bunch that we quote, but you go back and watch it and you realize that in the pilot or in the premiere of a season, they're spoiling a joke that you won't know is a joke until the finale of that season. And you'll realize that someone recognized someone, but you don't know they know each other until later. And it's when you start making jokes for yourself or for repeat viewings, I become a fan. And the ending of it is one of the best endings, not only of the year, but one of the best finales to a show. But because it's on Comedy Central, I don't think people are taking it that serious. I know it sounds like I have a lot of comedies, and I do, but there's been a perfect blend of comedy and drama. This is considered a comedy to some. It's considered a drama to others. It's the fusion of both that makes it work so fantastically. Broad City Season 5. On Hulu. Catch it, please. It's great.
A great show. Another one that we're sad to see go. My number 8, it's a show we've talked about a little bit here on Intercut. It's Unbelievable, the Netflix drama limited series with Caitlin Dever, Sigourney Weaver. Caitlin Dever, Merritt Weaver. There we go.
That's wild, right? Yeah, they rhyme.
Yeah, I'm just getting that. Toni Collette and Danielle McDonald, among others. It's just it's a procedural, but in a way that is so much more interesting and revelatory than I think you get from your normal cop drama. The way that they treat this case of a serial rapist with such empathy and such care, not only for the case but for the victims. They show you a side of the crime that a lot of TV and movies don't bother to go into, and that whole first episode, which just chronicles the Caitlin Dever character's journey from getting assaulted to retracting her claim that she was assaulted.
Yeah.
It is just so lived in and so naturalistic, but so devastating. I was blown away by the show, by the acting on it, by the writing of it. I think people are underestimating some of the work that's done on this show and just how revelatory it really is, how unique it is. So Merritt Weaver is giving one of the best performances on TV this year, I think. I'm really blown away by a lot of the show. Please check it out. Unbelievable on Netflix.
I second it, for sure.
Fernando, number 7?
Yeah, my number 7 is going to be Big Little Lies season 2. This was a show that the first season I absolutely fell in love with. I was recommending the first season of Big Little Lies to everyone I knew because the cast is absolutely incredible. You know, you have Nicole Kidman, you have Laura Dern, you have what's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Reese Witherspoon, Zoe Kravitz,
Shailene Woodley, and with season 1 blew me away. Season 2, when it was coming out, they said that Meryl Streep was going to be in the show, and I completely lost my mind because to see her play off of the other characters, I thought was going to be unbelievable, and it was. I think that was the absolute best part of the show was whenever Meryl Streep was on screen with the other characters. I do think it falls a little bit short of the first season. I feel like kind of like Game of Thrones, maybe a little bit rushed. I'm not sure if they had a full game plan, and I think a lot of that had to do with production problems that have been famously accounted for. I also think it has to do with Jean-Marc Vallée kind of leaving, but not leaving, and trying to continue to have power over Andrea Arnold, right? And I think that hindered it a little bit, but I still think it was a good season of TV.
Entertaining.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know off the top of my head if they're doing a season 3, if that's in their plans. I think it would.
They haven't announced it, but it really feels like they're going to.
Yeah, I feel like this is a case where there's some cases where it's like the first season ends, and there's like, it doesn't really need a second season, but I think this one does need a follow-up season to kind of wrap it up completely.
So that was the best way that they described it to me. I think we're all in agreement that the first one should have been a miniseries. Yeah. Something that we're going to be seeing as a perfect transition to my number 8. Or what are we at? 7?
7. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Undone. Just like Big Little Lies season 1, which was a perfect, just true miniseries. Mini-series, as in beginning, middle, end, and that's it. No follow-ups. A season 2 just kind of leaves it open to like you said, the season 2 for Big Little Lies doesn't stand alone. That is asking. It's got a cliffhanger type of ending. Undone was a show that Zach had pitched, and I was like, what? I have not heard of this. It was on Amazon Prime. He tells me it's from the creators of BoJack Horseman. I was like, I got to hop on that. Alita's in it. Angie from George Lopez is in it. I hopped on it, binged it all in one night. I was Snapchatting Zach. I was like, what am I watching right now? It was so surreal. Kind of dealing with time travel, kind of dealing with it's kind of like an about time, but you're able to shift and move around. But is it about that, or is it about mental illness and something that's been being passed down throughout the family? But it's also shot in this very if you've seen Waking Life, I forget what the other Richard Linklater one is.
A Scanner Darkly. It's the rotoscoping method of animation where they actually film the actors and then they animate on top of it. So the animation style is in patches extremely realistic, photorealistic.
And it almost even serves as a makeup in a sense, because they can record them in a green screen room and then put them in a church, or put them in this, or put them in anything, and then they can sketch the church and everything, because you just need to take a picture of a church, but because you're putting that sketch effect on it, you can then alter it, and it's kind of cool. I really like the behind the scenes to it, but as much as I love the show, it ended, and I made a really big deal about how this definitely feels like a cliffhanger, and I was literally told to go screw myself. Season 2 has been announced, so I stand clearly by what I said, but I still also really, really like the show. But I told y'all it would have worked better as a miniseries. I told y'all there's something up with that ending. Season 2's coming out. Catch up on season 1 before it does.
I mean, I felt for sure it was going to be a miniseries by
the
way it ended, and. I guess we'll see. I really trust, like we said, the creative team behind this, BoJack Horseman creator Raphael Bob Wassberg and Kate Purdy, who a lot of the show is based on her life, I believe.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they have a good plan for season 2. But season 1 is excellent. It's my number 5, skipping ahead a little bit.
Perfect.
It's like you said, the way that it blends this kind of dream reality with the real reality, and how you can't tell how much of this is a projection of her imagination and her mental illness versus her tapping into this supernatural ability. I think it makes this kind of like exhilarating in the way that it launches forward and backward in time and sort of lets you kind of reevaluate things from a different perspective because you've seen so much more of the plot.
Yeah.
I find fascinating. And, we talked about the rotoscoping, but the rotoscoping allows them to blend scenes together in this seamless way that just would not be possible in the same way in live action. It's like some of those scenes in Eternal Sunshine, but even more so crazy in the way where one environment will break apart and another scene will come in. I found it's underratedly funny. There's a lot of like subtly hilarious lines, like did you think what you dying would do to me and stuff like that. But yeah, I found this to be a really powerful show, both about mental illness and just like I don't know, like the way that she opens up and sees outside of herself a little bit more by the end of the show. I thought it was great. Like I said, it's my number 5. So.
It's very intriguing. That scene with David Diggs when they're in the postcard that she was given to, not yet. Woo-hoo-hoo! Fantastic. So I know that you had said you skipped over to your number 5, but what is your number 7, Zach?
My number 7 is Mindhunter. Major honorable mentions.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, this is one of the most immaculately designed and directed pieces of television maybe ever. I mean, Fincher is so workmanlike and efficient and knowledgeable when it comes to his vision stylistically of things. And I think there's a thing with this show in that it's so devoid of flashiness that you can kind of underrate it in patches, because it's very rarely giving you like a dramatic, violent scene or a car chase kind of thing. I mean, it's never really giving you those things, actually. Yeah. It's all about like the stuff going on around the idea of killers and thinking about serial killers and how they've developed these ideas. It's in those exchanges of dialogue and where they're trying to uncover these pieces of knowledge that feel a little more commonplace because we've had years and years and years of detective fiction to work off of. That the show is kind of really stunning. I thought season 2 in particular did some really interesting things in the way in which the detectives found themselves coming up against the idea of, well, is what you're doing actually effective? Mm-hmm. Is what you're doing actually going to get the guy? Mm-hmm. Or are you kind of just theorizing ideas? Yep. That plus the whole thing with, what is it, Holt's son?
Yeah. When they start connecting it to what are the cases that he's looking into.
Unreal. Mindhunter is an amazing show. I loved that season of television. It's so good. I don't know. I miss Fincher doing movies, but if this is the type of television he gives us, fine.
Easily. I literally left it off mainly because I wanted to cover some of these other shows that were more my favorite. But there's a scene in the show, and you broke it down perfectly. It feels like you're seeing of all these murders, but you're not. They're just talking about them. Yeah. But the way they talk about them and try to dissect it, again, I know I keep bringing up this boy right here, but the way he said marriage story, best way to look at a marriage, look at it once it's done. It's like a door. So how Noah keeps describing it. When you use your door, you open it, you close it. It isn't until it's broken and it jams that you start dissecting. Oh, it's this top of the door. You really start looking at the object. Same thing here in Mindhunter, when it starts happening to their own families and stuff. My favorite shot, when they're interviewing the guy who's telling their story behind them in the backseat and you never see his face.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Fantastic filmmaking. Fantastic.
I think we're at Fernando's number 6.
Yeah, number 6. Another one that you have mentioned before, I Think You Should Leave, the Netflix sketch show.
Hey!
Yeah, it's another one that, I popped on randomly one day, and I found myself going through binging the whole thing. Obviously, it's a really easy watch, like you said, 15 minutes, but they're so enjoyable. They're so funny. It's my kind of humor, like 100%. I found myself on Twitter recently. Someone posted the clip of the. Has this ever happened to you?
Has this ever happened to you, dude?
I was just dying in public. Like I was like an idiot, but it's so funny. Like,
what's your favorite sketch?
It might be that one. Like that one, just the way it escalates.
It auto plays on Netflix. It auto played on us so many times.
Like the way it escalates, and you're like, all right, this is, and then it's so good. It's really good. I highly recommend it. Super easy to watch. It's just good sketch comedy.
You're not on Turbo Team, Fernando.
Yeah, this man had changed his thing to that for the longest time on Twitter. Is it on your top 10 or was it your honorable mention?
It was my honorable mention. I can't believe I'm the one who put it in the honorable mention instead of the three of us.
I'm hurt. This is disgusting. I thought we were going to have one that we all had to like, what's going to be the one that is definitely on all of our top 10? I see you, Zach. Glow.
I think we do still have at least one. But,
I know.
We'll see.
We're going to have a couple. Glow Season 3. I don't know if this made any of y'all's at all.
It was my honorable mention.
Honorable mention? Fantastic. 3 is so bittersweet. Because what 1 did was set you up the characters. As you always say, it's just a good time hanging out with them. Glow's one of those ones that the moment it drops, I'm not binging it. I'm enjoying it. I want to watch it. I want to rewatch it. And I did. I rewatched Season 2 twice to be able to see it with Aline the second time. And it's all these little things after Season 2, the heights were like heightened. In 3, it sucks. Because some of these friends are falling apart, and it's just because it's time for them to go separate ways. There's that one character, or the one episode where they all decide to swap roles, and it just creates more problems. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
We might be talking about it more later.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Glow Season 3, I believe it ends with Season 4, all on Netflix, and every episode, every season is fantastic.
Yeah, just one of those great ensemble shows that unfortunately I feel like we don't have as many of anymore, where there's just like 10 or 12 interesting people in the cast. And it's just fun. Like, we have all these different type of workplace comedies, but when your workplace is a ladies wrestling show in the 80s, like that's just a really interesting workplace. So for a workplace comedy, I think it's one of my favorites, and those relationships really feel lived in, and those characters feel real. I love Glow. Yeah. So my number 6, I expect that it will come up a little bit later, so I'll keep mine brief. It's Fleabag Season 2, Phoebe Waller-Bridge's excellent wry, dark comedy that spends much of its second season wrestling with a will they or won't they between Fleabag and a priest. But I think it's charming in a way that only Phoebe Waller-Bridge seems able to write right now. There's an episode in which she goes off with a lesbian businesswoman that's older than her, and they have just this entrancing 10-minute conversation about what it's like being a woman and aging, and I just found it to be, some of the best dialogue writing on TV. Just the way that her characters can turn phrases and the little bits of the little jokes that slide in there, whether it's something that she does in a quick turn to camera or the repartee between her and the other characters. It's just a consistently entertaining show. So Fleabag, my number 6. Going to get into our top 5s now, though. So Fernando, if you're ready.
Yeah, my top 5. My number 5 is going to be Undone. So again, another one that we mentioned before. But Art, both of you guys had recommended this one. Art told me to watch it. I sat down and binged the whole thing. Loved it. Rotoscope is amazing. The way it looks is beautiful. I think Rosa Salazar is really good in this. Whatever it takes for people to watch this, if all the Alita stands have to follow her career into the future and watch this show, definitely do it. It's just the way, like, the themes it touches on. I do understand Art's concerns with the ending.
Yeah.
I'll watch season 2 gladly. I'm fine with it.
That's just my thing. They got to stop saying that these things are miniseries when they're not miniseries,
No,
because
I feel you.
that does change my ending.
Yeah.
Because think of that being the official ending and there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, if there is something else, then it switches it up a bit.
Yeah, I get that, but definitely highly recommend. Pretty easy to watch too. I think all the episodes are like 28 minutes, or the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
So really easy to watch on Amazon Prime. Highly recommend it.
I'm glad I made your list.
Art, you're number 5.
I'm gonna wait for it because I think it might be somebody else's number 1, but I know it's top 3. It's what you had just mentioned, Fleabag season 2. So I'm gonna wait on it for a bit. But that's mine. And then yours?
So I mentioned mine earlier. My number 5 was Undone. So we are at number 4.
Back to Fernando.
Back to me. My number 4 is going to be HBO's Chernobyl.
Very cool.
Dug this so much. It was getting so much hype. According to IMDb, it's the highest rated TV show of all time. And yeah, the way that Craig Mazin, the guy who did The Hangover, came out of nowhere and flexed on us with this show is insane. Performances are off the hook. And I know our other friend Chase kind of has a weird way he like pitches the hype around it, where he says a lot of the reason why it got so much praise was because a lot of people don't really know about the event Chernobyl. There was like that
I feel they do.
Yeah, there was like that one horror movie that had like teenagers going to Chernobyl or whatever, but this is like the actual recalling of the events.
Right. This is like a step-by-step kind of recreation in a way.
Yeah. But beyond that, I think the actual like direction of it and the way that they uncover, how some governments legit have the biggest egos in the world and just don't like facing their people and being like, we were wrong when we made a mistake, is really telling for a lot of places in the world. And that's definitely something that Russia dealt with during that time. They made a clear error and they didn't want to admit it, and that cost the lives of thousands of people.
There's an active nuclear crisis, and what's scarier than that is that
the ego.
Certain people in power are refusing to admit it.
And the way that escalates, the tension, I think is fantastic. And yeah, it's just a lot of talking too, but it's really good talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an information dump of a show in many ways. It's educational, although it's not necessarily to the fact. There's a lot of condensing they have to do, but I think there is a real skill in that condensing of this narrative and the way they are able to get across so much information and recreating these moments. They're not able to actually go to Chernobyl and film there, but the sets, the ways they recreate that Soviet look and the just bleak nature of everything that happened, I think it's captivating. It's great miniseries.
Especially with the sound mixing and like you had said, I believe it's Watson's character. She's supposed to be like an amalgamation of all of the scientists that I helped out.
Art, you're number 4.
So I'm going to be a little bit different. Mine's Chernobyl season 1. Very much enjoyed its HBO miniseries. I don't think there's a follow-up as far as I know. Mine's also Chernobyl. Nice. Very good show. I personally see it as a dark comedy.
Really?
I know, 2019 was the year for the Hangover Boys, know? The Hangover Boys made a big splash this year with their drama / in a sense, comedies. I really do think that this is a dark comedy. I think it was after the first episode, like you said, it's that almost surrealness of like, what do you mean? You're just going to ignore that something happened? And then when they finally come to terms with it, of trying to shut that ego out, you realize, no, we messed up. And a lot of the scenes are so like jarringly dumb that this is it almost feels like a dark comedy. You almost cannot believe that there's officials sitting in a room going, nah, I don't believe it. It's like, it doesn't even hurt to check.
You can kind of look at it as sort of like a bleak comedy about bureaucracy and communism. The way that like In the Loop or Veep are sort of these dark government comedies.
And then you get that one scene when, because the audio mixing in this is insane, the ending with the lights just flickering. What they thought they had for Game of Thrones, they had it for this one. Chernobyl, great miniseries. Right. And supposedly the highest rated of all time.
I'm very confident that we're going to talk about my number 4 a little bit later. So it's Euphoria. I thought it was an excellent season of television. We are going to do a Let Us Explain on it soon, too, so make sure you're locked to the Intercut channel. I'll use my Euphoria time to mention that Zendaya is giving, like, one of, if not the best performance on TV right now. Just the things she's doing with her face, whether it's reacting to the people around her and the craziness of her environment, or it's getting across that struggle to stay sober, or the feeling she has with addiction. I was rewatching episode 3 last night, and just the devastation that she gets across when Jules gets mad at her is so emotional and so powerful. I'm blown away by that performance. I knew she was a charismatic performer, but I had no idea she had the depth or range that she does, that she displays on the show.
Give her the right script. Don't give her the Far From Home script. Give her the right script.
Exactly. So we're at Fernando's number 3.
Yeah,
top 3 of the year.
All right. Have we all mentioned Fleabag in our list here?
We have all mentioned Fleabag. Are you the last one?
All right. Yeah, Fleabag's my number 3.
Let's talk about it. Fleabag season 2.
Loved it. I'm gonna count season 1 and 2 because I binge watched the whole thing.
That's right. It's all on Amazon. It's all on Amazon. Dude, and how easy is it, right?
So
how easy is it to just accidentally rewatch the entire thing? It's so short.
Yeah.
Many people have tweeted this out, but the entirety of Fleabag season 2 is shorter than Endgame.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Should have said Irishman.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a star in her own right, and it's interesting because the only thing before this that I knew that she was in was she played the droid in Solo, a Star Wars story.
In Solo,
and
yeah.
I did not like her character in that movie, but seeing this turned me around, which makes me happy that she's writing that Bond script. You know, whatever she did with it, give her everything.
I think I might have been the only one of us who saw Fleabag prior to seeing Solo, and having said that, go watch just her scenes again. She's so funny in Solo. I don't know if it's like what that movie is trying to do, but she's so funny in it.
I might have to because she is so good in this, and even like all the supporting cast. Adam Scott as Hot Priest, fantastic.
As Hot Priest.
The scene,
the scene, it's great.
Her sister Olivia Colman, they're so
Olivia
good.
Colman.
They're so good.
Do you have a favorite moment? Line. You have various things the prank scene in the shower.
I love the in season 2. I love the dinner table scene when
that whole first episode.
Yeah, when she has to like make the excuse. The excuses, yeah, and then it comes back later and it's like, wait, I thought weren't you the one that said? The ending. I think the ending is really, really, really great. I mentioned I was rewatching season 2, episode 3, and there's that moment where he catches her looking away. Yes.
Easily the best moment, yes.
Yes.
I thought the TV was broken. I was like, what's going on? I thought they left it. I thought they forgot to cut it out. That's so rare that something like that happens. And I think we're still cryptic enough that you can still go enjoy it and be like, what?
Yeah.
That was not the selling point because I was already invested. That was what did it for me.
Put it over the top.
They had something. They went into a territory. It was like seeing color. It's like the show was in black and white. Then that happened and it turned into color. I was like, wow. And then Olivia Colman, dude, when she says, when she drops to something and she tells her like not have her pick it up to the waiter, and she goes, "I hate you had to hear it, but you had to hear it." I love that line so much. It's a fantastic show. Do they have a season 3?
No,
scheduled
she said
to come
that she's
out?
done with the character. So
okay, that's fair. I really that was one of my biggest worries when we talked about this on Emmy night when she swept them all up. Are they going to force her to do more of Fleabag and like that wouldn't have been the same. So that's very cool to hear.
If she was an American and this was an American channel,
easily
they would have
easily.
Yeah. Art, you're number 3.
My number 3, boys, Russian Doll.
You them boys.
Wow.
Russian Doll. What'd you think I said?
I thought you said The Boys.
Oh no, The Boys was my honorable mention. I said Boys.
Okay, Russian Doll. So another one that all 3 of us have on our list somewhere.
Dude, She's the new Joe Pesci. I don't even say her. Or Joe Pesci's spirit has evolved into Natasha. She is a knockout, bro. Like you said, without her, I'm not watching this show.
Yeah.
No one's watching this show without her. So I know people keep calling it Groundhog Day. It is. This has revamped that. I love when you don't even want to call it Groundhog Day. You know, like when you see the Happy Death Days, and that's what you have to say because it just doesn't really stand on its own. This definitely
there's a lot of
yes.
like it's Groundhog Day buts, and I think Russian Doll is maybe one of the first to evolve that beyond it's Groundhog Day but.
This would be like a quote you would say. Russian Doll is what we'll be saying in the future. Oh, it's like Russian Doll,
Right.
But whatever it is. I really love the show. I love the idea of the 3 seasons. I already have a theory, but I don't want to spoil it too much, of every single season ending in the same spot. Go rewatch the first one. That's not too much of a spoiler, but it's a perfect... I am a sucker when it comes to like paradoxes in a sense, time loops, especially when they represent something. Another show that is not on my list, it just came to mind, Dark season 2.
Dark,
Both of these shows, we've even talked about these. Dark also has 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Russian Doll has 3 seasons. All of them have to do with time and what time itself and being stuck in a loop represents for the character. My rests are all streaming, guys. I don't know where you want to go from this. It's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah,
it's insane.
We're all really, really big fans of Russian Doll, so very much looking forward to what season 2 will bring for that show.
Dude, this was when we did the episode with Amanda in the top 5. It didn't budge. It's good.
Yeah, it stood the test of time. It hung on to my list too, even though it's just barely on there. But still, one of the great shows of the year.
Your number 3?
So my number 3, I'm going with Barry. I think maybe the show that I've recommended the most.
I think you're the only one who's seen it. Who's seen season 2?
Yeah, I mean it's, season 1 I thought was like a perfect season of television, and season 2 I think has the same level of great writing. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's wrapped up the same way that season 1 has, perhaps because they're thinking a bit more of a long game. But that line that they ride between the absurdity of his situation and keeping it naturalistic and letting the violence actually have like a dark impact is so well done on this show. I think Ronnie Lily, that episode that I've talked about extensively, and a lot of people talked about extensively, is just such a great example about of the way that the show is able to handle how impactful the type of violence that it's discussing and often about is. How it's not meant to be taken lightly, but there's a ridiculousness to the way that's portrayed that you can't help but laugh at. And Bill Hader is the perfect guy to blend those worlds because he's so good with the dramatic work, but is obviously such a comedic talent. It's just a show that can have you worried and tense one moment and then gut-busting laughing in the next. It's got some of my favorite performances with NoHo Hank as well. I love Barry. I want more people to watch Barry.
It made our list last year too. I think for both of us.
It was my number 1 last year, I want to say.
Was it your number 1?
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Well, that's dope. You got it at number 3 over here. Are they really going to be continuing it?
Yeah.
So it's going to be like a running series.
They're doing at least a season 3, and given that HBO now doesn't have Veep, doesn't have Game of Thrones,
Silicon
Barry's
Valley's
one
ending.
of its shows that is out there winning Emmys, I would not be surprised.
Exactly, yeah, he just won. He had a great year this year. Between that and it and the guest appearances that he was doing, big year for him. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fernando. So we're up to our number 2.
Top two.
All right, my number 2 is season 2 of Mindhunter. I love this show. It's so crazy how you could have a fantastic season 1 and just like continue on that same level, maybe even top it in season 2. I think the more I think about it, like you guys mentioned, there's a lot of talking, but it's so interesting to me that this is a crime show, it's categorized as crime, but not once do these characters like they never fire a gun. There's no like chase scenes. There's no like there's no like action. It's literally just all like talking, dissecting these killers.
All the criminals that they're talking to are already captured.
Yeah.
Dude, and talk about the criminals. Atlanta Monster. You actually get the actor from Once Upon a Time doing the Manson
Doing
thing here.
Manson,
Dude, and that scene is
when
great.
he's sitting above to be able to have the authority in the room,
Yeah.
eyeline-wise, it's crazy.
It's so good. And then everything like the little like the subplots, I guess, with the families and the actual case that they're working on, where for me it feels like season 1 is them like learning everything, obviously, getting down in the FBI, the term serial killer, and it's them having to teach everyone else, like, look, this is what we're trying to categorize these people as, and get deeper into, oh no, they're just doing this for rape or because of race. It might be a lot more than that. And then
it's so crazy.
Yeah, and then them having to use what they've learned and actually like put it to use in trying to figure out a crime. I thought was done really well. Fincher's behind this. He only did like 2 episodes, but even then, all the other directors they got were really good. And
if you've listened to some of the interviews that with people who work on the show, he's apparently heavily involved as a producer in the entire series. Although he isn't necessarily directing every episode.
Yeah. Knowing Fincher, remember that story of Gone Girl? He's probably going around, switch the camera lens just to see if they like notice or just moving the marker a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's overseeing it to a really detailed degree.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like you said, it definitely feels like they're amping up the stakes because of the intros.
Yeah.
And they're clearly leading to something, and what they're introing, that person doesn't get caught till like what season 11 of Mindhunter. Like I don't even know how that's gonna work, but yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add to it.
Good. Very good. I just hope they get Bong Joon-ho in season 3. That's my desire.
Okay, I like that. My number two is what has the best performances of the year. And it has not changed, actress-wise, definitely. And this goes for movies as well. And it's not just one, it is both of these ladies. That is Dead to Me, the Netflix original series. I absolutely adore this. I still think that this, again, has the drama aspect, the suspense aspect, the thriller aspect, the comedy aspect. And it has just... I love Applegate's performance, who I think is clearly the standout between the two. Should have won, in my opinion, as well. Because she just embodies so many little nuances, and it isn't until you rewatch the series a second time after you learn all the revelations that she has where you it's so good. And then you also have why am I blinking her name?
Linda Cardellini.
Dude, her with Marsden. Oh, the back and forth they had going on. And I know this one. They let me know it wasn't a limited series, so I knew to prepare for a season 2, and I am so excited for it. I still stand to this with my favorite acting performances in film, going to the Judy movie and Marriage Story. These two women beat them up.
Really?
Outdone. No one has surpassed them for me.
Wow.
No one has surpassed them. I personally adore that their performances. It stood the test of time. It's my number 2.
Is it a dark comedy?
My number 2.
Or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Easily.
Okay.
You haven't seen it? Wait, have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Oh, dude, watch it. Oh, you're going in fresh? Oh, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
It's an intensely bingeable show. Like, it's one of those shows that's very hard to put down, given the twists and turns and the ways they kind of change the stakes right at the end of the episodes. It's very, very, like... precisely written in that way. And
it is.
As you mentioned, you got Applegate and Cardellini giving very layered performances, particularly once you know a little bit more about their characters. You can see that they're not acting just on the surface. They're acting a couple layers deep. And it's a very fun show to watch.
I love what you said about the way that it's written. Literally, it is written like the first episode, the moment it ends, you want to show it to somebody, and you know the markers you're waiting to see their expressions on. I binged it. The first episode that I saw had me finishing it all. The next day I rewatched it because I had to see it with somebody else, and it was fantastic. It was great. My number 2, nice. Dead to Me.
My number 2 is a show that we've been talking about a lot recently on the Intercut podcast, and even though it's not done yet,
talk about it.
I'm ready to give it at least top 2 status. It's HBO's Watchmen. Your boy Lindelof is back at it. He's we've loved him since Lost, and he's taken the Alan Moore property that a lot of people know really well, a lot of people love, and remixed it, as he's said, in a way that's so appropriate for the modern era of churning out IP and reboots and remakes and all this. He's made the show he's made the property fresh for 2019 in a way that's not just a retread, not just rehashing old plot points and leaving fans to debate, is this version better than that version? He's creating something new out of something that people already love, and doing it to examine things that actually matter, doing it to actually talk about racial issues in America and the way that our country handles our past and the ways that we think about people and take care of people, not to mention just the intrigue of this world where, you see them pull out a pager in the year 2019 and you have to wonder, why have things changed? Why has the way that time has progressed has moved things in a way that they're not using cell phones, and it's a reaction ultimately to Dr. Manhattan and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just such an intensely clever show in all of its little details, from the world building to the way that the episodes are structured. A lot of episodic TV kind of feels like it's trying to be like a 10-hour movie, and this really feels like it's giving you individual episodes that are great pieces of entertainment. I'm in awe of the writing and work that goes into this show. I think it's so well done, and I think it's so appropriate for our era. So, my hat's off to Damon Lindelof. I've been fascinated watching the show.
Favorite episode?
It's got to be This Extraordinary Being, episode 6. 6? With the flashbacks and
Same.
Oh, it's so good.
Have you been able to catch up on it, Fernando?
No, I know, we're recording this on a Sunday, so the new episode comes out in a bit. The
new episode is actually on air as we record this, unfortunately.
He said, wrap it up, Fernando. We gotta go.
So, dude, I'm gonna binge watch it, before the finale, and then watch the finale.
Yeah. There's so many details in it. It's you need to rewatch it more than once, because every time Zach catches me up on some of the stuff that I missed, I was like, okay, I need to be paying attention to it like it's a Damon Lindelof show, and I should know better. I should know better. So, yeah, I can't wait to catch up on it, especially because it's a total of 9 episodes.
Yeah, we're almost out of new Watchmen.
He pulled an Oscars, and he didn't even go the full 10. He just stopped at 9. All right, we're down to our final, the big one.
Fernando, what was the best TV
What
show
defines you?
2019?
What defines you, Fernando?
What defines me? All right, I think
this is your pick.
Maybe, if I'm hoping, unless you forgot, but for some reason, because I think for art, I'm struggling to understand what's happening here, but I think I figured it out. But talk about this with me if you want to. But hands down, I think the best TV show this year was When They See Us on Netflix.
Let's go.
It's just nothing beats it, really. Like, the more it's literally still one of my favorite pieces of film making, whatever art this year.
Right?
Movies, TV shows. It works so well. Ava DuVernay came in, told this story in 4 episodes, and completely knocked it out of the park. She directed incredible young actors. She directed incredible veteran actors. She gave Jerome, who played Corey Wise in the show. He was in Moonlight. This kid deserved to be in more stuff after that movie, and definitely after this, 100%. He won the Emmy, and he's just phenomenal. That episode 4 is just heartbreaking in so many ways.
I have to imagine his career is going to just blow up after this, because he is so unbelievably heart-wrenching in that episode. So good.
Yeah, he's so good.
And it took like a week before the Emmy for him to even get verified on Twitter.
Yeah. And for an actor of his such a young age to pull that out, because of, and not only that, but because of the subject matter, because it's probably really close to home, especially in a time when the African American community does struggle a lot with police brutality, and that stuff. This happened years ago, and I love just seeing the way that the show has brought attention to the five of them. And I love and Ava DuVernay is so smart in the way that she handles things, because when the show was being rumored, it was like, oh, the story about the Central Park Five, and she was like, no, we're gonna change the name to When They See Us, because they're not, we don't want them to be called the Central Park Five,
the name that was given to them,
yeah,
and was pegged, and is what the court systems dragged them down and took a whole chunk of their life away.
Yeah,
that's not the name that they're going to be given.
Yeah, so changing it to When They See Us is fantastic. And alongside that, the little special that they did on Netflix with Oprah,
when he messaged me and he told me, he's like, there's an Oprah special. Turned it on immediately.
Yeah, right. Accompanies it so
Loved
well.
it.
All right, talk about it. Please tell me it's.
Look, my number one, I talked to the producers, they let me do it.
Yeah,
it is When They See Us.
I knew it.
But it's also Euphoria.
Yeah.
It has to be. I couldn't do it any other way. I couldn't. Euphoria is still on my playlist for music. Euphoria, just images pop into my mind. But When They See Us is... Ava DuVernay has done... a film that made it to the Oscars. She's done a documentary that made it to the Oscars. She's done a big Disney blockbuster. She's done a miniseries. It's so interesting seeing the different pockets she's going in. I don't know what the next one is, but I really hope she comes back to doing a miniseries. The way that she put all 4 episodes with a beautiful mic drop at the end of each one, with the one at the final one being the biggest one, and the way she just interweaves everything, the creative decisions to have older actors come for some of them, but not for Corey's character at the end, and showing you how it's incredible directing. I love everyone who's tried calling her out for the show, and she just slaps back right at them, proving them wrong. But it's just a fantastic series. I think it stands on its own. Yeah. Like, not just TV. I would have put this in movies if we were doing that as well. And the same goes for Euphoria. I believe Euphoria is... This is Netflix and HBO, right? Just Netflix and HBO. Yeah. I can rewatch any of these at any point. They both push you to an emotional state that is insane. In Euphoria, as Zach had mentioned when it came to the performance from really the whole cast, because the way that they do it in Euphoria is that they clip out a little intro for you to see everybody a little bit within this world, but just the perspective that the showrunner, director of it, Sam Levy, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. Levinson. Okay. The way that he approached it, because of the drug abuse he had in his own life as well, and saying that there's a beautiful interview that he does, both the mom who asked, if I show this to my daughter, isn't she just going to want to have the same high? And the way that he answers it in tears and he's like, I have carefully orchestrated this to not be ignorant of the fact of the high, this being recorded on the day that Juice WRLD has passed away because of seizures, because of, abuse of codeine and such. And the way he explained it was, I hope for this not to be a trap that follows you into that high, but that shows you and really tackles a subject in order to get out of it. He didn't want to brush it over. He didn't want it cutesy. He didn't want a 13 Reasons Why. He approached it the way it should be approached, and in the craziest creative manner possible. I've seen them. The man's script has the music choices already in it. The episodes are named after rap songs. Like, I don't even... It has to be tied. When They See Us, Euphoria. There's no other way to do it. At the end of the year, I realized, both of these two, they're the standouts to me. When They See Us, Euphoria. That's my 2019 Best in TV. Zach, what is yours?
All right, well, Euphoria, an excellent pick there. As I mentioned, that was my number 4 earlier, so I agree with you. I liked some of the things you're mentioning, how, Euphoria can't be a PSA. It has to be raw and honest, but I don't think it ever...
thank you. Yes.
I don't think it ever is like a glamorization of an illicit lifestyle either. I think it does a great job of kind of balancing those worlds and depicting these people for the struggling people they are.
And what a finale!
The things they're looking for aren't necessarily the things that they're finding.
Dude, Labyrinth's score for that finale, insane. Ooh. But your number 1.
My number 1 Another show I've been recommending a lot. I'm looking forward to you finally catching up with it eventually. It's Succession.
Of course. I don't even know why I asked. It just hit me right at the last. Yeah. Dude, he has been talking about the show so much. He updates me when he's like, pushes on the soundtrack. Pushes on the soundtrack? He's telling me all these different things. Talk about this show, because you have literally been... I messaged him one time and I said, you are the literal advocate for Succession. And all he said was, we stand strong.
Yeah, look, I've been writing for this show basically since it premiered. I think it's such a perfectly written show in the way that it unfolds these characters who... It's hard to figure out who to root for in this world of people who are all complicated and all flawed and all probably pretty bad people. A family running this giant corporation that's it specializes, as they say at one point, specializes in roller coasters and hate speech. But it's the drama of it, of this family that is navigating, staying relevant and staying powerful in today's world, while vying for power over one another, yet staying amicable enough that they can all get together for the holidays and have family get-togethers and family retreats. It's a really wonderful mix of this like opulence porn, the way that it just shows the endeavors of these rich people and the excess that they live with. Where they're throwing out gigantic, luxurious meals because it doesn't suit them in that moment, or they're just taking a quick retreat to a gigantic yacht in the Mediterranean. Yet there's still often these petty squabbles that keep them from enjoying any of it. I think it's just so brilliantly written. There's some really amazing dialogue on it. I enjoy it more than any other show on TV right now, as evidenced by me putting it at number one. It's so funny and suspenseful. I think it's maybe the best, one of the shows that you can watch easily as a comedy or easily as a drama. It's got both of those excelling right now. I love Succession. Yeah, it got better in its second season with a better understanding of the characters and just a constant upping of the stakes.
That's dope. Out of everything out this year, like, that says a lot. Yeah. Out of everything we talked about, and even some of the stuff that we haven't caught up on or mentioned, but really just everything that we talked about, for when they see us...
And I realized last year I also had Barry at number 3, but I had Succession at number 2, so Succession
went up.
Makes its way up the list one spot.
That's cool. That's dope.
I had Atlanta number 1 last year, but Atlanta took a break, so...
Yes, had to. Had no choice there, but yo... TV is insane. I'm looking back at it over here. Netflix and HBO seem like the winners to me.
Yep.
On my personal list.
Yeah, for my top 10, I had 4 Netflix shows, 2 Amazon shows, and all 4 of my top 4, Euphoria, Barry, Watchmen, and Succession, are HBO shows.
Safe to say you have a subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm maxing that HBO Max out.
Yeah. Great year.
Yeah, what about you, Fernando? Mostly Netflix, I feel.
Mostly top 2 Netflix, but you also had Chernobyl and Big Little Lies in there. But yeah, mainly Netflix. But there's definitely, like I said, a lot of HBO shows mainly that I need to catch up on, like Succession, like Barry, that definitely have my attention, yeah.
Okay, so I teased another quick top 10 at the end of the episode, and I also have my best TV episodes of the year that I'll run through fairly quickly. Stop me if there's any episodes you guys want to talk about.
Gotcha.
Maybe we'll throw in some other episodes at the end, but I have in number 10 the Posh episode of Pen 15. I don't know if either of you caught this one, where they do a video as the Spice Girls and is sort of experience some racism for the first time, it feels like, and the 2 main characters kind of have to deal with the racism that exists in their relationship, and it does it in this kind of innocent way that I hadn't really seen depicted, where it's very much like the middle school experience of racism, where it's not malicious, it's just incidental,
it's
but it still hurts.
Yeah. If I may, I want to bring up another series on Netflix called Friends from College, which ended too early, in my opinion. Some people didn't like it. I loved it. Season 2 was just getting to where it needed to be. There was also an episode dealing with Posh. That's why I was like, why does this episode sound familiar? But it doesn't sound familiar, where they dress up as Posh and they want to be Posh and not. But more so, it reminds me again of that episode of Glow, where it's not malicious racism in that episode when they swap roles. It's just ignorance.
Yeah.
But they don't mean it. I don't know. It's better relayed in the episode. Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue because my number 9 is season 3, episode 5 of Glow, Freaky Tuesday, the one in which they do swap roles. It begins with that really fun sequence where you see the welfare queen actress progressively growing more and more injured with her back, and then you find out that Glow is being renewed for through the end of the year, so it sends the team kind of into chaos because they're put in this situation where they don't know if they want to continue with the show, what it's going to be like to continue with the show, and they do this fun thing, which is decide to switch roles in the actual wrestling show. So it's a very fun episode. It's then followed up with the episode where they all go camping, I believe, and they have that discussion. So that 1-2 of episode 5 and 6 is a great sequence in Glow.
It's crazy that you're saying that the show itself was also wondering how much longer they're going to continue with the show itself while they're talking about it in the show itself. Great show.
Yeah. My number 8 is Chernobyl, episode 2, Please Remain Calm. This is the episode when they have to go inside the nuclear facility to shut down reactors. As you mentioned, it has that ending that's like the Game of Thrones moment in a way.
If you can see this in any Dolby surround sound system possible, woo! It's crazy. I don't like clicking anymore. I hear clicking. I start checking the radar to see. I'm buying iodine pills and stuff. No siree.
Number 7, Fleabag, series 2, episode 3.
I know what you're talking about.
This is the scene in which we meet her sister Claire's Finnish business partner, Claire, as well as the Kristen Scott Thomas episode and the one where they have the meta camera break for the first time.
Fantastic.
Number 6, Unbelievable, season 1, episode 1. I just thought it was a really amazing step-by-step of the process of what happens when you're reporting sexual assault. And for anybody who doesn't understand why someone wouldn't report or would report it and then change what they said, just sit them down and watch this episode of Unbelievable. My number 5 is... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to say no to episode 1 because it was so damn depressing. When Zach was telling you that she, says, I got raped, and instead they tell her, no, you didn't. They also end up charging her. Season 2, right. I agree. Watch episode 1. Please watch episode 2 where Merritt Weaver and Toni Collette appear, and oh my goodness, that keep me from continuing the show because... Oh, episode 1 is so frustrating. Great.
Episode 1 is
frustrating,
devastating, and episode 2, I would say, is basically its polar opposite.
Oh my goodness!
So it's the medicine for the frustration you'll get from episode 1. My number 5 on 10 best TV episodes, episode 4 of When They See Us, which you guys talked about a little bit. That episode that focuses on Corey. It's just so powerful seeing his struggle through the years and. The ways in which they wrap up that story, it's some of the best work Ava does on that show is in that episode, I think.
Agreed.
Number 4, I have the season 2 finale of Succession, getting all the characters together on a yacht and having them bicker over who should essentially be blamed publicly for some fault to the company. It is basically Succession at its best, with people... volunteering others for the slaughter and trying to make themselves look good with the sniping and insulting and mentions of Greg Sprinkles. I love that episode of Succession. Number 3, Undone, season 1, episode 2, The Hospital.
Dude, I had thought, because I keep confusing Undone and Unbelievable, they're so close. I thought you had chosen episode 1. I was like, I would have chosen episode 2. Thank you. We agree. The hospital scene, it is insane when David Diggs goes to visit her.
It's one of those episodes of TV where you kind of have no idea what's happening, no idea what's going to come next. Like, are we in the beginning, middle, or end of this plot? Doesn't matter. I'm with it.
They duped me. My stupid ass was rewinding because I thought I had skipped something. No, it was that was the process of the show. I was like, I never saw that person come in. I started rewinding. And Leah's like, "What are you doing? There's nowhere else to rewind." Great. Okay. Yeah. Easily.
Number 2, I got Watchmen season 1, episode 6. This extraordinary being. Talked about it a lot before, but it's just a jaw-dropping episode of television, from the long takes that they do to the way that the black and white is splashed with color, in the way that it reveals so much about the history and lore of this world and recontextualizes things, particularly the stuff with Hooded Justice. Amazing TV.
Say the line you pitched it to me. The line you pitched it to me. How you pitched it to me.
Somebody ingests another person's memories and has to remember who they are.
Let's
talk about a crazy concept for TV, fitting into this Watchmen world. And then my favorite episode of TV of 2019 is the Ronnie Lily episode of Barry. It aired immediately following the Battle of Winterfell episode of Game of Thrones.
And this is the Nerdwriter video too.
And the Nerdwriter had that video. That was the best fight scene of the weekend, and he was not wrong. Just it's such a well choreographed and funny escalation of events that also fits neatly into the way that Barry's character is becoming disillusioned with the lifestyle of a hitman. It's such a good episode. It's so funny, but also just the way that it's made. Bill Hader talked about how he wanted the camera to sort of look like it's judging them for fighting, and he gets it across. It's incredible, but he does.
Wow.
So yeah, those are my 10 favorite episodes of TV. I don't know if you guys had any other ideas, because the Euphoria pilot almost made it for me.
Okay,
made it.
I had another Euphoria episode, but I don't know if Fernando has anything off the top of his head.
I think for me, I would say the Mindhunter, the Charles Manson episode. I don't remember if it's 5 or 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was a good one. I want to say that was also a longer one of the ones directed by Andrew Dominic. Maybe. Yeah,
I love that episode of Mindhunter. Like we mentioned, if I have to pick one GOT episode, it would be that episode 2, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That
really episode 2.
I think that's hands down the best episode of that season, for sure. And I agree with the Undone episode and the Chernobyl episodes. Those are really good.
My 2 would have been, I highly recommend just the first episode of Dead to Me. Okay. Why the first episode, you ask? Because then you're going to watch all of them. And then Euphoria. Season 1, episode 4. Carnival episode. Very good episode.
Woo! Very good episode.
Great episode.
All right. So those are our favorite TV shows of 2019. Wow. Some of our favorite TV episodes of 2019. What a great year for TV. What a great year for TV, you guys.
Is this... We did one last year. Did we do one 2 years ago? I can't remember.
No, I think we only did one last year.
Okay, so then this is our second annual one that we got going on here. Got our thoughts in the books once again. But I'm excited for this. Every time we look back on them to see like anything that we missed, I'm very happy with our list. I know that there was some series that we had missed. Fernando, I know some of the picks you haven't seen yet. I am ecstatic for you to catch up on them. But we always like hearing from the intercuties, the interviewers who let us know on a bunch of these shows. Y'all let us know. I feel bad because I feel like it's the Amazon shows we don't catch up on the most, and those are the most recommended from you guys. I do feel bad about that bit. I'm
so
sorry.
Let us know which Amazon shows we missed. Let us know any shows we missed.
I promise we'll add more Amazon shows the next time. Yeah. We won't spend all our time on HBO and Netflix, but...
Shouts and honorable mention to Perpetual Grace Limited, because I know we're getting that in the comments down below.
That's all we're going to get. It's going to be like when they say best movies and people just go, Alita? It's going to be Perpetual Grace. But no, we appreciate you guys. For those who have been sticking around since the beginning, for those who have been sticking around since last year's list, we hope to be making many more of these. And we'll cover the CBS shows next time.
Yeah, and if you've caught us all the way through this, make sure you're also stay tuned for Intercut's Best of the Year in Movies, as well as Best of the Decade coming up on the channel.
That's going to be
lots of good stuff coming up.
Okay.
As well as our continued Let Us Explains about stuff like BoJack Horseman, Euphoria, and more. But yeah, that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at Zshevich. That's Z-S-H-E-V as in television, I-C-H. And check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplexshow. Art, where can people catch more from you?
You can find me at the A to Z Show and Let Me Explain on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the YouTubes. And you can find me here with Fernando.
Fernando, where can people catch more from you?
You guys could follow me on Twitter at border_logic. Also, my writing that appears on www.theatzshow.com. And just please don't be too mean to me about Game of Thrones in the comments.
Please. Nothing but please.
You can catch every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast, and then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod, where you can catch our bright, smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of Intercut every Friday, and please leave us a comment. Like the video, consider heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review, and like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod to get updates throughout the week from Art, from Fernando, from me, from all the guests that we feature here on Intercut. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, it's not TV, it's streaming.
I mess with it. HBO gonna sue you, bet.